Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
He needs care and treatment.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Is this a great country or what?
Locking down the middle of the day, live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. Means we're brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Got Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Fired up you were here with us. Hope your work week is off to a good start. We're loaded today. Got a lot to get to. The MLB draft is in the books. You're all well aware of that at this point, judging by the numbers on LouisianaSports.net. A lot of you were paying attention over the weekend, so we're going to get into my full reaction to that. We're actually going to have Cooper Sides, big talented right-handed pitcher from California who was not drafted over the weekend. He's headed to LSU. He's going to be with us at 2 o'clock. I also want to talk a little bit of Saints in the second hour as well, and our in-depth chart series continues with LSU football. We'll get into some of that with a tight end position coming up in 30 minutes. So plenty to get to. Let's get things rolling with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
Let's start with the Major League Baseball draft. The overarching theme that I gleaned from watching those 2 days, and I watched every pick for 2 days, was that LSU signed players who committed to their value and stayed there. And that is a very difficult thing to get a gauge on in the recruiting process. And ultimately, what happened when these LSU signees stuck to their number, some players I did not expect to get to school, some players I think Jay Johnson was dubious of their chances to get to school, are coming to school. And what you're seeing here could be a transformative weekend in the LSU baseball program. A restocking of the shelves across the board that was better than almost anyone could have forecast. I told y'all last week that I spoke to some sources inside the program, and there was confidence in two things. One, there was confidence that some players were going to make it to campus. Two, there was confidence that the people they were dealing with in their class and in their camps were being honest, were being truthful, and were doing things the right way. I think there have been times over the course of the last 2 seasons, and really in Jay Johnson's coaching career, where players have told him one thing and then done another. They have said their number was this. Jay Johnson makes calls on the scouting side to see what teams value those players at and whether or not there's a good chance they get to that number, and then all of a sudden the player signs for significantly less. And in a pre-portal era, and in an era where now the portal is essentially over, it's hard to backfill that spot. If you think you're going to get a guy because he says, I'm not going for a penny less than 1.8, and he signs for 750, well, now you can't fill that spot. And they felt confident that the people they were dealing with, from the high school players to the parents to the agents, were being forthright. And they felt like they had a good handle on what they were getting into over the weekend. And this is the result. LSU, as I told you last week, was prepared to lose 8 or 9 players from this class. Like, that was not an ideal scenario, but it's one that they had prepared for. Well, how do you prepare for that? Well, you sign extra players. You make sure your class is deeper. They went from 17 players in last year's signing class that got pillaged. You lost 8 of them, to 23 in this class, and then you only are going to lose probably 6. So you might lose 7. So it's a phenomenally positive outcome for LSU, and it's because of the people they decided to attach their commitments and signings with. Now let's go through what we saw over the weekend from a high school perspective. We will get to Derek Curiel, incredible. We will get to Jake Brown, incredible. So happy for Gavin Guidry, Santiago Garcia, some of those guys in the back end of the draft who will get to see their professional career start with a draft selection. We'll get to that. That's the second part of this. The first part of this is the high school class. And as I mentioned at the beginning in this monologue, like, one of the things I love about this class, yes, it's the star power, and I will get to those by name. But listen to what LSU has brought into the fold. In the outfield, you're getting Malachi Washington. You're getting Nate Davis. Anthony Murphy is not going to end up at LSU, I don't believe. But you are getting Lucas Naraki, who could potentially play the outfield. So you've got Malachi Washington, Nate Davis, and Lucas Naraki. That's 3 outfielders, right? Okay. On the infield, Parker Lowe was not drafted. Luke Tucker was not drafted. Jordan Martinez was not drafted. That's 3 infielders, meaning third base, second base, and shortstop. You got 3 guys in. I was saying you have to get 1. It'd be nice to get 2. You got 3. All 3 of them undrafted. Right-handed pitching, Cooper Sides, Friday night traits. Colby Stringer, Friday night traits. Braden Wisner up to 97 miles an hour. Major Osbolt, JUCO arm, 95 miles an hour. That's 4 right-handed pitchers that you bring in. Then on the left side, you get Lucas Naraki. You get Braden Cupid. That's really, really important. And you also got a left-handed pitcher in Braxton Beatty to pull out of the draft. There's 3 more. So, plus you got a catcher in Mason Belding. So you got 3 outfielders. You got 3 infielders. You got 4 right-handed pitchers. You got 3 left-handed pitchers. You got a catcher. You covered every base here to restock the shelves. Because you can't go into the transfer portal and overhaul your entire roster every year. That's just not a way that Jay Johnson wants to do this. He wants Derek Curiels. He wants Jake Browns. He wants Stephen Milums. He wants Jared Joneses. He wants Cade Arambides. He wants Omar Cernas. He wants Cade Andersons. He wants Kason Evans. He wants guys that get into the program and stay. And what you've done here is you've gone in to your entire just layout of field, and you have filled a roster. And candidly, it is a immensely talented one. Immensely talented. Of the players that LSU is going to get to campus in this class, I thought you had no shot on Malachi Washington. He is in the mold of Dylan Cruz. And when I say that, I mean around 6 feet tall. Dylan's a little bit shorter and Washington's a little bit taller. But high-end speed, high-end arm strength, quality defender, big-time bat speed. Cruz is a better hitter as a high school prospect than Washington. But Washington is in that mold. You get, as we mentioned last week, Nate Davis, who can run incredibly well, has a great left-handed swing, can play center field on defense, is just an elite level athlete that you want roaming the outfield. You get Dom Santarelli in this class, who is as imposing a power hitter as LSU has brought into the program under Jay Johnson. That includes a look at Jared Jones. That includes Omar Cerna. This is as powerful a bat as you have brought in the Johnson era. He is already 6'2", 6'3". He is 230 pounds, and he took a wooden bat out to Arizona and averaged north of 110 miles an hour exit velocity with a wooden bat. Oh, by the way, for 3 years, he will put the wooden bat in the closet. He'll take a metal one out at the box. Huge power that you've brought in that I did not think you were going to get to school. I told you there was a chance, but I wasn't going to bet on it. On the infield, Parker Lowe, big power, great makeup. We talked to Joe Doyle last week. That's a huge addition into your class. Luke Tucker is coming in. He's going to join Matt on AFR later today. He's 6'4", swings it left-handed, profiles as a third baseman, maybe as a first baseman, but a big, long-levered, left-handed hitting infielder. Those are the ones that professional baseball loves. And Jay Johnson does too, and he got this one. And you also bring in Jordan Martinez, who probably profiles as the best defensive shortstop in this class. Stephen Milum's not going to be here much longer. You've got Jack Ruckert in the wings, but you bring in 3 guys that can play on the infield dirt and that all of which had draftable grades and get to you. Lucas Naraki is somebody I'm going to talk about in the next segment when we talk about pitching. But this is a guy that can hit. He went to the MLB showcase, left-handed hitter, big power. I think he's a pitcher first, but as I told you last week, he and Will Adams in this class were guys that you absolutely were going to give a chance to play both ways. Adams got drafted. I think he'll sign. Naraki pulls out before the draft starts. That's a huge piece for 3 years. You also bring in a couple of guys that are good offensive players. Dylan Menete at first base is a really good left-handed hitter. He doesn't have a lot of power. He's not filled out. He's not overly strong. But he hits a lot of line drives, and he can play first base defensively. He is a program player that you're going to bring in. He wasn't going to be a guy that was going to be super draftable because he didn't have a lot of power. But he's a really quality hitter. And then you get Mason Belding, who's going to come in and be a depth catcher for you. You got Aaron Beatty. You've got Cerna. We'll see Eddie Yaman as well. And then you've got Mason Belding coming in to be a depth piece. But you need those. But you've crossed off every single spot on the field. You've got left-handed hitting. You've got right-handed hitting. You've got speed. You've got defense. You've got first base. You've got catcher. And you've got star power. Malachi Washington, Dom Santarelli, Luke Tucker, Parker Lowe, Jordan Martinez. This is as talented a position group as I have seen come into LSU through a draft. It is really, really something. And you know that those guys were fielding phone calls throughout the first 10 rounds. And you know that they got some phone calls later as well. And Washington was taken in the 18th round with Pittsburgh. Santarelli was taken in the 18th round with Seattle. But they have stuck to their number. And I can tell you this. And look, those guys all went to Instagram. They flooded Instagram. They said, hey, we're coming to LSU. But I'm just telling you that in the 11th round, Spencer Evans, left-handed pitcher in LSU's class, went to Pittsburgh. They used their overages on him, identified him, picked him. They can't come back and pay Malachi Washington. The piggy bank's empty. So you're going to get Malachi Washington to school, and Dom Santarelli has said exactly the same thing. So this is an incredible position player haul, and it might be overshadowed by the talent you're bringing in on the mound. I want to get to that. Cooper Sides is part of that. He's going to join us in 45 minutes. But I want to talk to you about the pitching, how that profiles moving forward in the program, and how it potentially profiles on next year's team. So there's a couple of guys in this group that I absolutely believe will help next year's team, and I can tell you what capacity I think that'll be. So we'll do that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
GoTro's Outdoor Power, GoTrosOnline.com. That's GoTrosOnline.com. Still time to get on by and get incredible savings in the month of July. You're talking 20% off MSRP for Hustler commercial mowers. You're talking 0% financing for 48 months. All right there at GoTro's Outdoor Power. If you need that new zero turn, need that new Hustler, go with GoTro's. They're the local option, 2 locations, Baton Rouge and Gonzales. They've got trucks on the road 8 hours a day if you need parts delivered to you. They've got trailers if you need to get that machinery where you need to get it. It's the local touch that GoTro's is willing to give you, and it's the great savings that GoTro's is willing to give you as well. They're the National Hustler Deal of the Year 2 of the last 3 years. Largest inventory in the state. Go by and see them on Airline or in Gonzales. It's GoTro's Outdoor Power.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Guarantee Health Solutions, guiding healthcare forward. GuaranteeHealth.com.
Always love telling my friends over at Marucci. Go by and take a tour over at Marucci. Just learn the story. What a cool thing we've got here in Baton Rouge, where the official bat of Major League Baseball is made right here in our backyard. You turn on the Home Run Derby, you'll find Marucci. It's the official bat of Major League Baseball, and it's made right here in Baton Rouge. You can go see where they make 1,200 bats every single day, where they cut them down, where they stain them, where they ship them off to the best players in the world. And you can learn the story about how Marucci went from a backyard shed in Baton Rouge to the show. Such a cool journey, and it just took 2 decades for Marucci to get there. So if you're here in Baton Rouge looking for something to do, want to get the kids out of the house during summer break, go take a tour over at Marucci. Tickets are available at MarucciSports.com. That's MarucciSports.com, my friends at Marucci. All right, I want to talk about the pitching now with LSU baseball in the MLB draft, which concluded yesterday. And obviously, we told you last week that Logan Schmidt had no chance to get to campus. Big physical left-hander, 97-mile-an-hour left-handed fastball. LSU staff was well aware he had every intention to sign, and he was taken in the second round and moved on. A little bit of a bummer, because I told you last week that I thought Jensen Hirschhorn had a chance to get through. He projects as a frontline MLB starter because he's 6'7" and he throws 96 miles an hour. But there's some development that has to go on with him, specifically with the secondary pitches. But the MLB organizations just weren't going to pass on a 6'7" flamethrower like that in the high school ranks. So they took Hirschhorn early on. Also saw Spencer Evans go. He went in the 11th round. What happened there was you got those slotted rounds, and you go 1 through 10, and then they took an hour break after the 10th round. And that's when the teams were able to huddle, find out what they had with their money. In the 11th round, they could really attack one targeted player that they felt they had enough money to sign. In LSU's signing class's case, you saw Spencer Evans go to Pittsburgh there in the 11th round, and then Will Adams go to Detroit there in the 11th round. I expect both of them to sign with the leftover money that was brought over. And both those guys can pitch as well. Dylan Blomker went to the Cubs, and I expect him to sign as well. So you lose those arms from your class. Logan Schmidt, Jensen Hirschhorn, Spencer Evans, Dylan Blomker, and Will Adams to an extent, although Adams was more of a hitter, but he was going to pitch at LSU as well. So you did lose 5 pitchers. But what do we talk about right at the top? You've insulated yourself. You brought in the depth of talent so that even though you expected to lose some off the top of your pitching talent, what'd you keep? And what you kept was real stuff. Real stuff. Cooper Sides, who will be with us in 40 minutes, is a 6'5" right-hander, up to 95, 96, has pitched on the showcase circuit. I really like his breaking ball. He's the guy that profiles as a starter with a really clean delivery. Colby Stringer, we talked about last week, is from rural Mississippi, was a very, very late riser, exploded this spring, led the country in strikeouts as a high schooler. I told you the story that I was in Starkville covering LSU and Mississippi State, and Koki Riley and from The Advocate and I were the only 2 media members there. So we were talking with Jay Johnson on the field after games. Well, they got swept on Sunday, and Koki and I are standing there in foul territory, and we talked to whoever it was, Curiel, I think, and whatever, and then Jay was set to talk to us. And I heard Jay say to Bill Franquez, the SID on the field, hey, I got to go see a recruit. Can I knock this out real quick? Talking to me and Koki, and Bill said, yeah, go ahead. So we talked to Jay, and then he hit the road. I didn't know where he was going, but the next day, a recruit from northern Mississippi committed to LSU, Colby Stringer. So I connected those dots pretty quickly, and Stringer was a guy that had a lot of helium late in the draft because he throws really hard. He can spin the breaking ball, but it's raw. It's not polished stuff. He hasn't been in travel ball his whole life. He hasn't been in the perfect game showcases. He hasn't been at IMG Academy. He's just been at home in Mississippi. And now he gets a chance to field calls for 7 figures and turned that down and showed up at LSU. Huge get for LSU. I felt really good about Braden Wisner. I told you that last week, and he got through. He's another 6'2" right-hander with 97-mile-an-hour fastball. That's great to see. Major Osbolt, I thought, would get drafted as a junior college prospect as an older player. He did not. He will make it to campus with a fastball in the mid-90s. So that's excellent news. And then you go to the left side, and you get Lucas Naraki, who pulled out of the draft. That's a huge one. Braden Cupid, another lefty from West Monroe, is coming in, as well as Braxton Beatty. Let me talk about Naraki first. This is huge, huge, because when you look at LSU's staff right now, and you look at the left-handed pitching on the staff, you've got Danny Lockenmeyer, you've got Cooper Williams, you've got Ethan Plog. It's not dominant stuff. It's not swing and miss stuff. I really believed that Ethan Plog would be a dominant left-hander for LSU this past season. What I saw from him in the fall, what I saw from him in the preseason was really strong. And he does throw 94, 95, and he does have a decent slider. He didn't throw nearly enough strikes. He hit too many guys. He just didn't dominate. LSU does not have a left-handed stopper that's proven on this roster. And Naraki brings that nearly immediately. The reason Lucas Naraki is coming to LSU is not because he's not good enough to get drafted. He's not coming to LSU because he's 5'11". And MLB teams looked at a 5'11" player, and they just weren't going to grade him high enough. So before the draft on Friday night, he jumped out. What he's going to bring next year, in the spring of next year, is a left-handed arm that's going to come in, throw strikes at 92, 94 with a really, really good slider. This is one of the best bullpen pieces LSU will have next year, and it's in the freshman class. I'm just the metrics on this kid are phenomenal. He's a great hitter too, and he will get a chance to swing the bat at LSU. But the easiest thing for me to do when I look at this class, keep in mind when we talked about LSU's team before the draft even started, I could go 1 through 9 and fill it out with upperclassmen, and I could give you a weekend rotation of upperclassmen. They don't need the freshman class to plug a hole on the roster. They may have a freshman come in and win a spot, but there's not a hole. I could argue there's a little bit of a hole in swing and miss stuff from the left side. Like Cooper Williams is not a swing and miss lefty. Danny Lockenmeyer is not a swing and miss lefty. Ethan Plog has that potential but didn't show it. Naraki has what some people were calling the best left-handed breaking ball in the high school class, but they're just not going to draft a reliever, because that's what Naraki profiles as a reliever, who's 5'11". That's just not a draftable profile. So that's what you're looking for. I talked about this last year. You're looking for, quote unquote, the flaw. Something that gets high school kids to campus. Dylan Cruz swung and missed too much as a senior. Alex Bregman broke his finger. Derek Curiel was skinny. You're looking at something where they go, yeah, we're going to pass on that at this spot. And with Naraki, it's that he's short. But he is absolutely going to be a left-handed factor. And then beyond him in this high school pitching class, you've got the makings of like Friday night stuff. Colby Stringer and Cooper Sides have Friday night stuff. They're big, they're physical, they throw hard, they spin the ball. It's a real arsenal. I'm excited to talk to Cooper Sides here in 35 minutes and kind of see what his week was like and what the coaches have told him about his role. I don't know that LSU is going to have a freshman break into the rotation this year. You're going to have to work hard to wrestle a spot from Kason Evans, William Schmidt, Cooper Moore, and Landon Hood, who's coming in, who I think has got a real chance to earn a spot. That's 4 guys who were upperclassmen with some skins on the wall and good stuff. I don't know if a freshman's going to jump into that. We've heard Jay Johnson say time and time again to the media that it's just very rare that a freshman comes in and is in the starting rotation start to finish. Like Drew Beam is the name he always brings up. Liam Peterson is kind of that for Florida at this point. He's going to have one more year of that, and he'll be a top 5 pick next year. But it's rare. These guys are going to come in a pretty low-pressure environment as far as a low-pressure environment as far as expectation for them in year one. They may earn their way into a key spot, but LSU's got veterans that can pitch. They need these guys to push those guys. They need some development from the veterans, and they need a couple of these guys to break through. And when you look at the talent that you've got between Cooper Sides, Colby Stringer, Brady Wisner, Braden Cupid, Major Osbolt, Lucas Naraki, and Braxton Beatty, you look at the talent in those 6 arms, not to mention Landon Hood, you've got an influx coming here to help this pitching staff, which has obviously got to be a lot better, right? They obviously have to be a lot better. They were nowhere near championship caliber this past year. You need development from the older guys, and you need a couple of these young guys, Naraki and maybe one of the right-handers, to really bust through. And if you do that, you've probably got enough arms to compete on SEC weekends and then to get in the NCAA tournament and do the things that you're trying to do. But make no mistake, this was a monster weekend for LSU. And I believe a transformative week when you look at the future of LSU's baseball program. I don't know how big the impact's going to be next year. We can talk about that at the end of this hour. But I feel like you have got the makings of a great team in 2028. Next season's 2027. In 2028 and 2029, with this group growing up in your program, there are some dudes here that don't often make it to campus. There just are. And we said that about Dylan Cruz. We said that about Derek Curiel. Said that about Kevin Gosman. Like, we know when these types of guys matriculate into the program, what they can blossom into. And there's reason to believe you've got some of those types of guys. Jay Johnson has produced first-rounders time and time again at LSU. Jacob Berry was a first-rounder. Dylan Cruz was a first-rounder. Derek Curiel becomes a first-rounder. And you've got some guys right on the back end of that, like Tommy White, like Jake Brown, like Trey Morgan. Those guys. This is the type of hitter that you are bringing into the program, the type of athlete you're bringing into the program, and the talent with these arms is really something. Now, that doesn't always work out. But again, you play the numbers game. You play the numbers game and you bring in enough talent that eventually some of that cream rises. Some of these guys will end up transferring out. Some of these guys will end up not panning out. That's just the way it goes. But you need some stars to step forward, and you've got significant star power on this signing class on paper, and it's going to show up in the fall ready for action. I'm going to talk about how they may impact the first team and some guys that may have a role as freshmen at the end of the hour when we close things out here in this hour one here on this Monday. Brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Again, Cooper Sides, right-handed pitcher that will be an LSU Tiger. He'll join us in 30 minutes. Very much looking forward to that conversation. Let's flip things over to football. Continue our in-depth chart series on the offense coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Always love telling you about my friends over at Auctioner, and they're always so helpful when it comes to providing tips to you and being a resource to you. Now, in this instance, we're talking about the heat, and it's here and it's staying for a while, y'all. Hydration is so important year-round. You've got to stay hydrated. It's essential for overall health and for performance. If you're looking to get into the gym, if you're looking to play ancient athletes, or you're looking to be on the high school field, you've got to hydrate. Proper hydration helps support your energy, your focus, your recovery. If you're outside for under an hour, drink a cup of water every 15 minutes. Try to avoid those peak heat hours if at all possible. Run in the morning, work out in the evening. If you're out longer than an hour, you need to add electrolytes. Aim for 2-to-1 water to sports drink ratio and try to go for low sugar options on the sports drink front. Hydration is so important, and our friends at Auctioner know it. If you're dehydrated and you need some medical attention, find your nearest Auctioner urgent care at auctioner.org/UC. That's auctioner.org/UC.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Guarantee Health Solutions, guiding health care forward. GuaranteeHealth.com.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC brings you our show every single day. They bring you our opening drive every single day as well, and they'd love to see you on Highway 61 in St. Francisville getting behind the wheel of a new ride. Still some of you with that summer vacation to come. If you need a new ride for that, I got the place for you. Fabry Chevrolet GMC. They've got your Chevrolet Suburbans. They've got your Chevy Tahoes, GMC Yukons, Denali's. You're looking for that big SUV. They've got them new. They've got them pre-owned as well. Need a new truck? GMC Sierras, they got them. Chevy Silverados, they've got those as well. And you're going to get a wonderful customer experience every time with the folks at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. That's how the Fabry family has made their name for 35 years in this community, because they take care of the people of the Baton Rouge area. So go by and see them on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. Get that new car, get that pre-owned car. If you're looking for a car for your summer road trip coming up, Fabry Chevrolet GMC, online at fabrychevrolet.com. We continue to move forward with our in-depth chart series. That's where we're talking about LSU position by position leading up to SEC Media Days. That's where we'll be a week from today in Tampa, Florida. The crew flying out on Sunday. We'll set up shop there in Tampa on Sunday evening, and we'll be ready to go with Off the Bench coming at you on Monday morning. And we'll be talking a lot of football, and a lot of folks are going to be talking about Trey'Dez Green, because Trey'Dez Green is one of the best players in college football on an offense last year that was atrocious. Could not run the ball, could not stretch the field, could not sustain drives, could not pick up first downs, couldn't do anything. They had Trey'Dez Green. That was the one real positive of the offense. Started in the Clemson game when they split him out wide, drew a pass interference call that set up the first touchdown, then they split him out wide and threw him the touchdown that ultimately was the difference in the game. He accounted for both LSU touchdowns one way or another in that game. It never really stopped. They were able to isolate him multiple times throughout the season. He had a big touchdown against A&M in the first half, and they just nobody really found an answer for Trey'Dez Green, because I don't know that there really is one that doesn't involve multiple humans. He is 6'7", jumps incredibly well, and he's just a matchup problem. He had 33 catches last year for 433 yards. 7 of those catches were for touchdowns. That's the most by a tight end in the history of LSU football in a single season. And I expect him to be utilized in a more effective way this coming season because you've got a more competent offense around him. And so you're looking at what should be the preseason All-SEC tight end and what could very well be the preseason All-American tight end. And if LSU does the things we think they're going to do offensively, he could be the best tight end in the country. He should be a first-round pick in next year's draft. I realize there are some flaws with him when it comes to putting his hand in the dirt on the end of the line of scrimmage and knocking guys out of the way. You'll figure that out. Split him out wide and let him go make plays. He runs well. He jumps well. He catches the ball well. He's awesome, and I think he's going to be a huge piece to what LSU is doing offensively. What's behind Trey'Dez Green at the tight end position? Well, there's only one returner at tight end, and that's J.D. LaFleur. Of course, LaFleur redshirted last year. He is a legacy. His dad, David, was a big-time player here at LSU, ended up a first-round pick of the Dallas Cowboys. And J.D.'s huge. He's 6'7". He's over 250 pounds. If they need him to be a physical presence on the end of the line of scrimmage, he can absolutely do that. They've got a couple other guys that are pretty big and physical as well. Malachi Thomas comes over from Pittsburgh. Thomas is on the shorter side for tight ends, just 6'3", but he's 242 pounds. He's played 2 years of college football at Pittsburgh. He only started 2 games in those 2 years, made 15 catches for 214 yards and 3 scores. Was a 3-star prospect when he signed with Pittsburgh, but is a depth piece and a veteran depth piece at that. We saw Malachi Thomas out there a good bit working with the twos. I think he's probably right now the second-team tight end. And then you've got J.D., who's probably a more physical presence. The one freshman that they brought in this class was a flip from Ole Miss to LSU when Kiffin and company flipped from Ole Miss to LSU. It's J.C. Anderson. He's also huge. You just don't see a lot of freshmen that come in 6'6", 255, but he is, and he can move a little bit. ESPN rated him the number 3 tight end in the country. As a senior, he caught 46 passes for 578 yards and played a big role for the basketball team up there in the Midwest. I think my opinion on this roster, its position group at tight end, is that Trey'Dez Green doesn't come off the field. Malachi Thomas plays in some 2 tight end sets. I think the other guys are depth pieces. I think LaFleur and Anderson are depth pieces on this team. And if you want to go jumbo, like the Bo Bordelon spot, you probably will go with an offensive lineman there and not a tight end. But if you wanted to, you could go with J.D. LaFleur. I don't know this to be a fact, but I suspect that J.D. LaFleur has got the technical ability to be a physical run blocker. His dad played in the NFL, so you would figure that J.D. was taught how to handle himself in the line of scrimmage growing up. I know he has the size, so if you want to not take the jersey on and off like they had to do for Bordelon for the offensive lineman to go from the 60s or 70s into the 80s to pull in that third tight end or that jumbo set, maybe LaFleur could actually do it. Anderson's probably a year away, but look, after Trey'Dez Green moves on, you could have Ahmad Hudson coming in to kind of take that role over a little bit, but you're going to see a drastic shift in the way that LSU uses its tight end in the following season because a junior Trey'Dez Green is just not the same as a freshman Ahmad Hudson. So you need some depth. You need some guys who can do some different things, and they've got that on this team. This is among the more exciting positions because of Trey'Dez at the top. I am so excited to see what LSU can do to get Trey'Dez Green a little bit more involved. He was not a one-trick pony last year, but to an extent, he was. He was, all right, we're in the red zone, spread out, let's throw the fade. There wasn't a lot of activity around the middle of the field for Trey'Dez Green. He had some catches that moved the chains, but I want to see more creativity with him. I want to see him stretch his legs, get out and run. He can really run. I want to see what this staff can do creatively with Trey'Dez Green, and then we'll see kind of how the dominoes unfold behind him. But you did go out and create some depth. You've got some homegrown players there as well. So it's not a crazy deep position, but they do have some bodies there at tight end. My prediction for Trey'Dez Green this year, I think he goes north of 600 yards receiving. I think he can absolutely go get 8 or 9 touchdowns again, and I think he's a first-round pick. I think this is going to be one of the best players in college football, and I'm really excited to see what he can do. There was a concerted effort made by Lane Kiffin and his staff to make sure Trey'Dez Green did not go anywhere when they got here. And Trey'Dez told us in the media that, like, he never really considered going anywhere else. He's from Louisiana. This is home. This is the home state school. His parents can come see him play. Like, this is the time where he just wants to be a Tiger, and he will be for one more year, and that'll be it. The good news for Trey'Dez is he didn't lose 20 pounds in the offseason this year, which he did playing basketball last year. That got nixed pretty quickly. He's just strength training, and he'll be physical. He'll be ready to go when they start things up. And my suggestion is that we may well see him next week in Tampa for SEC Media Days, as he's among LSU's kind of headliners. And so we'll see how that all shakes out next week. That's a look at tight end. If you want to read about it, you can at LouisianaSports.net. That's LouisianaSports.net. It's all free, and the entire in-depth chart series is there. It's all completed. We went all the way through the offense, all the way through the defense, into the special teams, into the kicking, punting, return game, all of it. So if you want to read your LSU football and get an LSU football fix for free, you can do it at LouisianaSports.net. Click the Teams tab, click LSU football, and you'll see the in-depth chart series all there for your enjoyment. Appreciate you all for being with us here on this Monday, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. We'll step aside, come back. We'll switch back to LSU baseball and kind of talk about what these guys may do in this year's lineup. What kind of impact can this freshman class make in year one? That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
First American Bank and Trust. First American Bank and Trust. They're online at FABT.com. That's FABT.com. Go with the local option. We tell you that all the time, the Hunt Palmer Show. Go with the local option. And for banking, it's First American Bank and Trust. They've been here in Southeast Louisiana for 116 years, since 1910. They've got the resources with 25 locations to get your commercial loan worked out. So if you're looking for a commercial loan, looking for a personal loan, trust a local option that's got 25 locations. Don't call a call center in Atlanta. Don't call a call center in San Francisco. Call South Louisiana. That's where First American Bank and Trust will be, and that's where your decisions will be made. They're in St. Tammany, Tangipahoa, Dutchtown, St. John, Lafourche, Terrebonne. Wherever you are in Southeast Louisiana, there's First American Bank and Trust nearest you. You can also find them online at FABT.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Guarantee Health Solutions, guiding healthcare forward. GuaranteeHealth.com.
Guarantee Health Solutions, bringing you our Monday shows each and every week, always helping us get our weeks off to a good start. If you're in the healthcare space and you haven't contacted Guarantee Health Solutions, do so at GuaranteeHealth.com. Rachel Fricke and her team are just great to work with, and they've made real differences with their partners in the healthcare space. Rachel comes from a hospitality background in hotels. She went through an experience with her mother in the healthcare system that just wasn't pleasant. It wasn't personal. It wasn't user-friendly. It was formal and impersonal. And she thought, I can do better than this. And so now she's formed Guarantee Health Solutions to help bring that hospitality piece to the healthcare industry. If you're in the healthcare space, like, how much time have you spent being concerned with your website? How easy is it to navigate? How many clicks to care? Like, how long does someone have to spend on your website to make an appointment? And then once they get into that appointment, what's their experience like once they come into the waiting room? At Guarantee Health Solutions, they can train the front desk and make sure that things run smoothly and efficiently. They can make sure that folks are coming back for their follow-ups, that you do reach out for those annuals, to make sure that people continue to come through the door and have a pleasant experience when they do so. The Net Promoter Scores, they've seen astronomical rises quickly with healthcare operations that deal with Guarantee Health Solutions. So if you're a dentist's office, if you're urgent care, quick care, if you are a hospital, private practice, contact Guarantee Health Solutions. They're online at GuaranteeHealth.com, GuaranteeHealth.com. All right, I'm going to wrap on this LSU baseball signing class here. Spent the first 30 minutes of the show on it. We'll go back to it. And really excited to have Cooper Sides come on here in about 12 minutes. Big right-handed pitcher from California, and kind of go through what his experience was like over the weekend, and how excited he is to get to Baton Rouge with this loaded signing class, which is doing a lot of Instagramming back and forth, I've noticed. So we'll talk to Cooper coming up in 12 minutes. But as far as the impact on this team, I told you about 20 minutes ago that I thought that the most obvious player to point to go, he's going to help immediately, is Lucas Naraki from the left side of the bullpen. But I told you that 20 minutes ago. He is a left-handed bullpen bullet, and I think LSU will use him quickly because I think he's as good as the left-handed options that LSU's got in the program. It's tough to forecast one of these right-handed pitchers immediately unseating the foursome of William Schmidt, Cooper Moore, Landon Hood, and Kason Evans. I just don't know if that's something that's realistic. They're going to be given an opportunity. LSU needs one or two of them to kind of do something along the lines of what Kason Evans did 2 years ago as a freshman, coming in and being a high-leverage bullpen arm. These guys have got plenty of stuff to do it. I'm not asking for 120 pitches a weekend. May need you to come in and give me 40 good ones. And we've seen a lot of freshmen thrive in those roles in SEC play as a high-leverage reliever in the middle of games. And I think that's what you're going to look like. As far as the position players go, y'all know what this team looks like. On the infield, Braun starting at first base. Braun, Kurland, Milam, Park. That's going to be very difficult for one of these infielders, Parker Lowe, Luke Tucker, Jordan Martinez, to break through. It's going to be tough to do. Those guys are old. Milam's a fourth year. Kurland's a fourth year. Dawson Park is a third-year player. Mason Braun really emerged as a freshman and is a solid defensive option with really, really good at-bats, really good on-base percentage, and I think some power that's going to come. It's just hard to imagine one of those guys immediately breaking through on the infield. And in the outfield, you've got Bino Waters, who got a first-round grade in a too early mock draft today. You've got Jason Wax, who has hit .330 at Tulane for 2 years. And then in right field, you've got Angelea, who is, a potential first-round pick and was an all-conference player as a freshman. There is not a hole in this lineup. So somebody's going to have to wrestle playing time away. Like, who could that be? And as I look at it, from an offensive perspective, I think Santarelli is the best hitter. He's 6'3", he's 220, he's got prodigious power. There's a chance he could get some playing time. But, again, you going to sit Cerna or Aaron Beatty? You going to sit Braun? You going to sit Leia? I don't know about that. So you're going to have to get some mop-up time at bats early or force your way to the field in the fall. Here's where I do see some potential opportunity for young players. Malachi Washington and Nate Davis in the outfield are premium runners. They're premium athletes. So if you need a defensive replacement in center field, like Jason Wax didn't play center field at Tulane. He played right field. Bino Waters is not an elite runner. He's a good athlete. He's not an elite runner. If you need a defensive replacement, those guys can absolutely do that. If you need a pinch runner for Omar Cerna, if you need a pinch runner for Mason Braun, absolutely. Malachi Washington and Nate Davis profile as guys that can certainly do that. So it's a fascinating situation where you've done such a good job with the starting lineup on your roster that there's not an obvious spot for any of these guys to grab. But it just creates some competition. And I texted this to a couple of people yesterday in our friend group, not at LSU or anything. No one cares about my opinion at LSU. But my thought was, okay, all I know is these freshmen are talented. These portal guys that LSU has brought in better show up in the fall with their spikes laced. Because you can't just Cadillac it through the fall. I got a spot. I hit .330 last year. Here I am. No, you're going to have to hit. You're going to have to hit in October. You're going to have to hit in early November. You're going to have to hit in January. You're going to have to hit when the lights come on in February. Because there are players that are going to get at bats in this freshman class. They may be in mop-up duty after you've already gone 3 for 4 with a homer. Great. But there are freshmen that are going to get at bats. And if you don't hit, they will. Hopefully it's not to the extent of last year where you had to sit older players down and go with freshmen that may not have even been ready. I don't think Jack Ruckert and William Patrick were ready to play SEC baseball last year at a championship caliber level. You could send them out there and they weren't going to embarrass themselves, but they weren't ready to play at a championship level. I'm not telling you these guys are ready to do that because this is a big adjustment up to big-time baseball, but the talent level is real. So Jason Wax and Dawson Park, Cade Kurland, those guys need to show up ready to hit. Because if you have a week where you strike out 6 times, Dominic Santarelli is going to get in at bat. Malachi Washington's going to get in at bat. And they're going to have an opportunity to earn some playing time for you. And Jay Johnson's shown he will put freshmen out there. He put Mason Braun out there. He put Omar Cerna out there. He put Jack Ruckert out there. He put William Patrick out there. He put Derek Curiel out there. He put Stephen Milam out there. He put Kason Evans out there. He will put freshmen out there if you're ready. Brady Neal played a lot as a freshman. He was the opening day catcher. So I can't, other than Naraki is the left-handed bullpen guy, I can't confidently find a spot for a freshman in the top 9 of the weekend rotation. You've got older players there ready to do that. But what they better do is produce. It is going to be a hotly contested fall. And some of these freshmen will show up in faceplant in the fall. It happens every year. Stephen Milam did it. Mikey Matuk did it. Like, freshmen faceplant in the fall all the time. And it's going to happen with this group. Not all of them, but some of them. But then you go off for Christmas break, you come back, and sometimes a transformation happened. That happened for Matuk and Milam. Curiel showed up and just hit the whole fall. That's what you get. That's what you got. And that'll happen for some of these guys, too. It's an exciting group that LSU is bringing in. And I think that you have set the program up for the next couple of years by getting some guys through the draft over the weekend. So big weekend for Jay Johnson and company. That's it for hour number 1 here. We talked a lot of baseball. The signing class for the first 30 minutes of the show. Switched over to football. Talked a little Trades Green. You can catch that at Hunt on LSU, wherever you find your podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. Fired up for hour number 2. We are going to talk about Eric McCoy, the Saints offensive line at the center position. But Cooper Sides, a member of this LSU class, big right-handed pitcher from the state of California, is going to join us after SportsCenter. National headlines and Cooper Sides next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. BoudreauxElectrical.com. BoudreauxElectrical.com. Neil and Melissa have been running it for not 10, not 20, not 30, 40 years. Neil and Melissa have been running Boudreaux's Electrical Services. They know what it takes to service the people of South Louisiana. And in this part of the world, power outages are just part of it. Afternoon thunderstorms, hurricanes, ice storms, bad drivers, it's too hot, whatever, the power goes out. Give yourself the peace of mind that's not going to happen to you. Get that Generac home standby generator installed by the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical soon. Be proactive about it, not reactive after the storm blows through. If you're a business owner and you've got a new building or you've got a facility that you can't afford for the power to go out, you lose all your production, contact Boudreaux's Electrical. They are happy to fill your commercial orders. Give them a call at 985-397-1562. That's 985-397-1562. Or Gonzales location 225-300-9389. That's Boudreaux's Electrical.